All right, we're back. I'm going to be walking through some of the steps that I take when I'm starting over. So, if it's your new story and you want to take on like a whole new adventure, or if it's starting a fitness program, or if it's starting this huge renovation that I'm working on, where do you begin? It can be really overwhelming when you don't know where to start and can keep us kind of trapped in a place where then we do nothing. So, 3 steps that I take when I am beginning something new, including the renovation. Number 1, begin with the end in mind, because when you have kind of that vision of what you're working towards, then you know the steps to take to get there. So, next time I'm going to talk more about vision and how do you actually come up with that design vision to begin with. We're going to get into that next time. This time, we're going to talk about number 2 is to remove all the toxicity. And when you take on an old house that hasn't been touched in 40 years, there are a lot of toxic things that come with it. And those things are damaging to our health and damaging to any sort of new good thing to take place. Toxins impact us physically and they can impact us in our relationships. So, whatever your new story is that you're beginning, it really is important to clear out the toxins. So, let's start walking through the house process that I experienced in getting rid of some of the toxicity that was there. So, started off, I actually like day 1 in the house, I just started cleaning. I started washing the walls, washing the doors, washing things that you don't even think about washing. What's interesting is when we clean our homes, it kind of connects us to our houses. I love cleaning. It sounds silly maybe, but the bonding experience that happens when I'm cleaning, and it's therapeutic and it feels good to just kind of reset the house. And in those times, I can listen to something positive like a audible book. So if you don't love cleaning, try to reframe your mindset around it because cleaning is actually amazing. I started with cleaning and taking out some carpet that was in the den. Pull out the carpet and discover asbestos tile underneath. Now, in a normal situation, asbestos tile, it's typically 9-inch squares. It's not hazardous as long as it's completely intact. Nothing's pulling up and it's secure to the ground. You can leave it there. I've researched this a lot as a result of what I had to go through. I, however, didn't have that kind of a situation. There had been moisture under the carpet, and so they were practically falling off. I am a big believer in saving money wherever I possibly can. And so with this one, I did a lot of research and I called an environmental specialist friend of mine and I got all the facts and I got all my materials and I got in my hazmat suit and I did it the right way. So it's a lot of steps, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of backbreaking labor. Quick side note about the moisture in the den. That was disclosed to us in the property disclosure. Let's talk about property disclosures real quick. A property disclosure is a form that a seller fills out when they are selling their home. And it is a very easy, basic form that just asks very specific questions, such as: has there been a leak anywhere in the house? Do you have enough water for your household? Things like that. It is in your best interest if you are selling a house to just fill it out with honesty. You have to go back 5 years according to law. So, within the past 5 years, what have you experienced with your house? When you're honest about it, it helps your buyers to know what they're getting into, and it just prepares them, and it helps the inspectors to know what to look for to make sure things were remedied properly. And if they weren't remedied properly, yes, you're going to either take a cut on the sale of the house or fix it before you sell it or before you close on it. But if you don't reveal these things because you're trying to just make as much money as you can and you want to be sneaky, you could have a lawsuit in your future. And also, it's just better to be honest in all things. So, property disclosures, fill them out, use them. They're very helpful. Also, when you're buying a house, ask to see the property disclosure even before you go through the house, or have your realtor checking it for you just to make sure there's not any major situations before you even get there. And for the record, most every single house has issues of some sort. You're not going to find a house that has nothing. Don't let inspections scare you away from a house that you truly love when you find out that it needs this, this, and this, because every house needs that, this, and that. Their houses, they have a lot of components to them, and they require a lot of work and they require a lot of maintenance. And usually, when we're switching from one homeowner to the next, is when we're getting to those things that otherwise people just live with. Recognize the inspection process as a plus because it's a chance for you to get to know the house and then fix and address the things that come up. All right, moving on. What was after the asbestos tile? After that, we found wonderfully moldy walls. So moisture is going to bring in things like termites, mold. That's where things can get expensive. So you do, like, if you see there was water intrusion, that's where we want to make sure things were taken care of properly. And if not, just know that they can always be fixed. It's just a matter of how much damage was done and how much is it going to cost to fix it. So in this situation, we have these moldy walls, and let's let Ronnie explain how to fix it. All right, so we ripped out the little wet bar that was here, and we knew there was leaking behind it and damaged walls, but now it appears to have a more serious mold problem than initially anticipated. And then, because this room gets cold, we'll be able to insulate when we rip this all out. So what are the steps? What do you do?
You have to seal your block first. You have to mortar all these holes, and you have to put a barrier on the block before you put anything up. You're going to seal it with a dry lock, and then plastic, and then insulation walls.
Boom. All right.
That's how it goes.
We got to make it ugly before we can make it pretty. After that, we were able to clean it properly and paint the walls that were new. I didn't record much of that because I was moving and doing other things. All right, so then upstairs in the corner there were some cracks in the plaster, so I kind of pulled off everything that was loose, and as you can see, that was quite a bit. I've never repaired plaster before, but I know it has to come off, and so that's step one. Step two is putting a PVC primer. And then step three is using the plaster repair and just smoothing over a nice fresh coat. I just got here to sand these walls to this. And I am almost positive it happened because since we're not living here yet, I turn the heat down when I leave, and I think that's where we went wrong. So I'm gonna have to scrape off as much as I can and redo it and not turn the heat down to 60. It did eventually come together, but it was not fun at all. What else? What are some other toxic things that I had to get rid of? A lot of people, when they come into a house for the first time, or I don't, you tell me, like, let's talk about spirits or using sage to like cleanse the spiritual realm of a home. I don't know what I believe, to be perfectly honest, but I will say that when I moved in, I just went from room to room and prayed over the house. I just prayed like a blessing over the whole house. And I just prayed that the house would be filled with love and that everyone who came in would feel the love and that we would use this home as a place to extend love and grace and protection and peace over one another. Now, does that mean we have flawless days and we're all perfect? No, I wish it did. But I think, when you just kind of give your home almost as an offering to God, like, I want to use this as a space that is a blessing for myself and for the Lord and for my children and my husband and everyone who comes here, and just kind of honoring that within your own heart. It's what bad can come from that, right? So I think different people have different ways of kind of connecting with your home on, I don't know if we'll call it a spiritual level or what, but I would be curious to hear if you have any experience with that. I have a couple other stories of other houses, but I'm not going to share them because I will sound crazy. But I've experienced some crazy things. So, moving on, when we talk about removing toxicity from situations before we're getting started with bringing in something new, how does that impact relationships? So we just talked about how we bless our home and we want it to be this place where all good things happen. And then at the end of the day, we are imperfect people and we frustrated each other. So in a relationship, when it comes to toxicity, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is it a behavior that's toxic? And if it is, what can I do to help the toxic behavior to stop? So whether that's a 2-year-old who's having a temper tantrum and just needs to learn how to speak better, or sometimes my own self when I'm having a temper tantrum and I need to learn how to speak with kindness even when I'm frustrated. So toxic behaviors, those are things that like can be fixed. There are things that can be worked on. There are things that we can grow through. And it always comes down to the heart and whether or not forgiveness can take place and gratitude. And then the other thing, cleanse at the beginning of starting a new fitness program. I start off super strict and I'm down to like fruits and vegetables or juices and giving my body a chance to just reset. And also my mind gets disciplined and realizing, okay, I can live off very little. So now let's add in only the healthy things and not give myself permission to have just anything and everything that I want because that catches up to you. All right. So number 3, we talked about where do we begin? Number 1 was begin with the end in mind. Number 2 was removing the toxicity. And number 3 is gain momentum with something that produces immediate results. So starting with something simple and doable that lets you see that efforts pay off. When we start with the biggest thing and the hardest thing, it feels like it's never going to happen. Back to fitness stuff. When we start and we work out these hard workouts and we're dieting and we eat perfect and it's been 3 weeks and nothing's happening, it feels like we're wasting our time and why bother, right? The number on the scale is so deceiving, but when you do photos, you actually see, oh, wait, there are changes taking place. You don't always feel it. So you need to do something that helps you see the results because when you see results, you get inspired and you're like, oh my gosh, my efforts do pay off. Hooray. So, 3 quick little ways to gain momentum for me in the house, this is where I said we're gonna get into it next week, was starting with the kids' bedrooms, and getting to gift their bedrooms to them for Christmas was just such an awesome experience. Starting with something that's doable where you're seeing the results, that's what I suggest. Bringing it back to the relationships, how do we see instant results in tackling relationship issues? Like, you can't fix a person overnight. You can't fix your own self overnight. How do you see actual, like, instant results to gain momentum to keep doing the hard work? I truly believe the answer is gratitude. I think that when we choose to focus on changing our perspective from all the issues and the things that are wrong and the things that need to change, the second we change our perspective to what do we have that's working for us, where we can be grateful, what do we have going for us that we can build on, that's how you gain the momentum. And that gratitude can pour into every other thing. I actually listened to this cool sermon this morning, so I might as well share it with you because it impacted me. He was talking about weight, like the weight, weight, and how things can be really heavy, but how God provides us with a wagon to carry the load. And we can either be focused on the heaviness of the weight of the thing that we have to carry, or we can be focused on the wagons and filled with gratitude that we have a way to carry it. I know this one wasn't fun at all. This was all about, like, how do you actually get started? You start with the toxic junk. It's not fun. It makes you want to quit. But also, if you can push past the not fun part, then we get to move into the design and the exciting shopping and, like, the colors and the cutesy stuff. But first, you got to start with what's not fun. All right. Next time, let's have a little more fun.